All right, we got a Wednesday recap today. So going into the day, we're in this range, expecting all-time highs at some point. So off this higher time frame, we're bullish, but if we look at this high, which is Monday's high, ES ends up sweeping out that high. So we have an SMT up there, and we got rejection out of it during Asia, London, and also New York session, as you can see. Um, we're on the 15 minute, right? So looking at this, we have the SMT, we have displacement, right? So we have just marking out key levels. We have Asia high, London high, data highs, and we also have London low, previous day London lows. We have this low from lunch session on ES, and then also uh previous day low down here, which is all the way down here for ES. As you can see, NQ is a lot more bearish than the Nasdaq. I mean, NQ is a lot more bearish than ES. So if you're taking shorts, you want to be on ES. And yeah, going into the day, right, we had these equal lows and this low right here. I really like that as a target, so that's why I want to see targeted like off open. So we had this 5 minute gap. I know we inverse it right here, but I still thought that this would bring price down lower. Looking on ES, that gap is still supporting it there. So even though we have that right there, if we get a re-inverse of that, which is what we got before the open, I think we're probably bearish. So hopping down on the 1 minute, um, yeah, this was the first trade entry I wanted to take, but um, sadly did not get to enter on it, and we'll go over why in just a second. Okay, so this is our target right here, right? We inverse this 1 minute gap. Um, and with like good displacement, that is that 1 minute inverse that I would like to take. But the only reason why I couldn't take that was because it was before market open, right? That was 9:27. So market open comes in right here. We have this fair value gap, right? And since we inverse and we already came down to like right here, I expect this fair value gap to, or this fair value gap to push us down. Whichever one we tap into, we tapped into that and then drop lower. No entry for me. We have this 5 minute right here, right? Um, and we swept out this high right there. Uh, did ES sweep that? No, so ES created equal highs actually. So technically this would be a an SMT, right? So an SMT inside of this 5 minute, I want to say. Yeah, 5 minute gap. Um, so basically I just want to see some displacement from there now. There's no fair value gap, so whatever. Um, Basically first trade was I wanted to, since we tapped into that, if we got to close below this low, creating an order block, I would take a tap back into that and basically take it to these lows, which are uh yesterday's London lows. So I'd take it to those. And keep in mind ES still hasn't swept any sort of liquidity yet. So no reason why we should react from there. So we almost create that order block, but not yet. And then this big candle down, we do end up creating that order block. But here's the thing that I did not pay attention to, right? I was still waiting for a tap back if we could. We got close, but we didn't tap all the way back in there. Why? Because if you look right here, there's these down close candles that created an order block also. So I was waiting for us to tap back there, creating an order block and waiting for that. But really what happened was we created an order block here. And so we don't necessarily need to go all the way down there. And it already retraced a decent amount, like more than halfway of that candle. So honestly, if I got in like right there, kind of a mid fill, kept my stops there, 1 to 1.3, could have held it to like 1.5. Because we did energetically sweep that, which is kind of what I was expecting. So I probably would have held it right here. It would have gotten hit instantly the way it did, but if I just held it here, you're missing out on zero point 0.5 RR. So it's putting it right there. As soon as it sweeps it, no matter what, I'm just pressing cancel as soon as it retraces up. So there's no downsides to doing it like that. But yeah, honestly, should not have waited to retrace all the way up here. There's no reason why it should. And if it did, honestly, that's probably a bad sign just because like it retraced way too far. It doesn't need to do that. All it needs to do is come back to here. You can see that a little bit better on, I believe the 4 minute it was. Yeah, the 4 minute order block, right? So that candle right there created that order block, tap right back into it, and then boom, you send that to the lows. So that was the first trade that I missed out on. Um, is what it is. Learn from it, you know. And then let's see here. Right here, there was a 5 minute right here. I'm just gonna clear this up here actually. So yeah, we swept that London low, and so we end up displacing down further. So really, I was expecting now previous day lows. So we have the 5 minute gap right here. I expect this to reject from. And keeping in mind also, we still have yet to sweep anything. We're getting close to that first London low on ES, but still haven't swept anything. So we get a tap into that, and then we get a rejection candle out of it. Um, Now, what I like to do for these taps into the 5 minute, I like to get a good displacement and put my stops up here. But just from this candle, there's no way I could have really told that it wouldn't go up. There wasn't enough displacement. What I wanted was this 1 minute inverse right here. I wanted that to get re-inverse and close below that. That's what would have been my confirmation. Since there's no inverse or order block really, and the order block would have been too late. So what I could have done actually was if I was unsure if this was the actual move going down, if we didn't want to come back up, we have this 1 minute imbalance right here. There's no imbalance up there. So I expect that 1 minute imbalance to send us down lower. So I could have my stops up there, entered off that displacement, still would have been uh over a 2 hour trade. So second trade I missed, I should not have missed that. But honestly, not bad, you know. Um it's literally just re-evaluating everything and all the little details and just figuring out what works best. And this in this scenario was what would work best. And then right then I was basically that sent us to previous day lows. So my target was hit. Um and also ES swept these London lows here. So all my main targets were hit for the day. Um and now I did think that we could possibly send these to this low and this low just because it's, kind of low resistance liquidity. So I kind of wanted those to get hit too. So just kept that in mind. I did my recap actually before I even saw this. But when I hop back on, um actually I'll show it on ES. When I hop back on the charts, we had, I believe it was yeah, it was right here. So we have this small 5 minute gap right here. Nasdaq didn't have that gap, unfortunately. That would have made it A plus in my opinion. But what happened was ES tapped into that. NQ, came up too after sweeping up that previous day low. I no matter what, when we sweep out previous day lows or previous day highs, even if we're going lower, I do expect a decent retrace, and that V-shaped recovery was a decent retrace in my opinion. Um, so we created an SMT actually. So ES tapped to that 5 minute, NQ doesn't have one, but this internal high right here was swept on ES. NQ didn't sweep that, so NQ is the weaker pair, and then we get displacement down, heavy displacement. After I think at 10:49, so this candle, I saw this and I was like, holy shit, this is a beautiful fucking setup right now. I need to take this to this low. That was my main target, and this low was my second target. Um, Now, straight up off of this, I should have entered off of that displacement candle. Um, Honestly, in my opinion, I would have waited for this wick up. And if that wasn't enough for me, it would have created that fair value gap and I would have entered on the fair value gap. So best case scenario, it would have been a 3.5 RR trade. Um, but I looked on because there were these two gaps here that we could technically reverse from because they get a nice V-shaped recovery. Um, so I wanted to wait for that 2 p.m. not 2 p.m. 2 minute inverse. So I waited for a tap back into this, stops above right here, which is where I believe the 1 minute imbalance ended. Yeah. I put it right there, expecting this imbalance to hold if we ever come back. And then yeah, targets on here. So basically what we did, right? I entered. we retrace a little bit, and then we ended up coming up on ES into this 1 minute gap, and then we inverse that gap. So after we inverse that gap and coming from this believe it was a 3 minute also. Yeah, it was a 3 minute gap. So that's where you got that, inversed it, added onto my position on the inverse and moved my stop. It was originally at 23 and a half points, and now it was at 15, 15.25. I'm pretty sure I moved it to like that. Um, so yeah, I basically almost I added onto my position another full contract. I was already in two. Now I'm in three, and then I almost halved the size of my stop. Um, so I ended up actually risking more, having the same exact fill, so it didn't go down or up. And I also I'm just like my stop is smaller than the original position. So yeah, now just waiting for us to actually start displacing because now is when I expect to displace, and that's exactly what we did. We got this big ass Drake candle actually. So just swept that. I took off half position. And I saw that on ES over here we swept out this New York PM low with this big candle, and judging from this imbalance after the second candle I saw this candle and it kind of had a doji kind of candle, so didn't really I kind of want us to go then like to this low then, because what happens with these is we swept liquidity on both assets and we have this big imbalance, so I think the draw is still lower, yes, but um I don't like we don't necessarily have to go there now because you just swept a bunch of liquidity. So we end up chopping around inside of this gap, retracing all the way back up to where my break even would have been, and then going down to that low. So I ended up taking my full position out right here for about just averaging it out. It probably would have been, yeah, 2R. So 2R with um a pretty heavy uh risk. And yeah, I made I think 1,700 on the account. So over half the account in one trade. But yeah, no, that was a pretty A plus. Super happy with my execution. Good ad, good moving stop. And yeah, that's it for the day. I should have definitely capitalized on these trades beforehand. But yeah, like this one, I'm not gonna lie, was a little bit sketchy. Would have been, 1.5 hour trade, so not the hugest trade. I would have been off then. And then this one, right? We got that. This would have been, if I entered off of that displacement, that would have been a 2RR trade. So basically the same as the other one. Um, but it just shows you like when you miss something, like don't get discouraged, don't get FOMO, like there are going to be more setups to come in the future. It's not just one setup is done and then you're done for the day, like there will be more if you miss one. That's something I struggled with a lot was I got FOMO from missing out on like a perfect entry or something because I didn't see it. And then I would just enter at a random point and then it would stop me out and then go to the low. But and like honestly, like every single day, I still feel that same feeling. The only difference is that I'm not doing this. I'm actually executing on the stupid shit, It is always in my mind, but I just know that never worked out for me in the end. And there's no reason for me to do that because I know another setup is going to form at some point. So, yep, that's it for today. I already went over the main points and yeah.